Hello class, this tutorial is to show you the folder structure for your final project. So as you know, we created a folder at the beginning of the quarter. It should be named 2019 Winter, last name, first name. So make sure that you have this specific name before you submit your final project in class. Now inside this folder, you should have another folder named Photoshop. And inside Photoshop, you should have three more folders. One is for Project 2, Project 3, and your final project. Project 2 should have four folders named Assets, PDF, PSD, and Soldier. Inside the Assets folder, you should have a JPEG folder, a PDF, and a PNG. However, you should only have a picture of the soldier we originally downloaded from the assignment for Project 2 from Canvas. So as you can see, this is what Project 2 Assets JPEG looks like. Then there should be nothing on the PDF or on the PNGs. When you go back once, there should be nothing in the PDF folder. And then when you go into the PSD folder, here is where you're going to have all of your revisions. Here is the Photoshop files that you were working, and this is how it should be named. First name and then last name, Project 2 Revision 01. Remember, we're doing it backwards just for this project because some of you were submitting Bobby's project number 2. So going into the folder Soldier, this is where you're going to have your final projects that you're submitting. This is where you have the JPEG, PDF, and the PSD folders, and inside of these folders you should have a file that is named like this: first last project 2 final. And as you can see, the JPEG, the PDF, and the PSD all are named the same, except that they have the final part at the end and they are different file formats. Now when you go to Project 3, this is for the surrealism. Again, you should have four folders in here: Assets, PDFs, PSDs, and Surrealism. Inside the Assets folder, you should have JPEGs, PDF, and PNG folders. In the JPEG folder, you should have two images. One that is the background image you use or selected from the Flickr account, and then the subject image that you selected from the 14 options that I gave you in Canvas. So right here you should only have two images, and they should be named Subject 01 and Background 01. As I mentioned before, you shouldn't have anything in the PDFs or in the PNGs folder. And then when you go back one step, there should be nothing in the PDFs folder. And when you go into the PSD folder of project number 3, here you should have this file naming convention: last name, first name, project 03, revision 1. Again, in this section inside the PSD folder, you may have more than one file based on how many revisions you did. And then when we go back out onto the last folder, which is where you're actually working with your final images, everything that you submitted on Canvas or in person, you're going to have three folders: final JPEG, final PDF, and final PSD. Again, each of these folders should have an image and a file with the right naming convention. In this case is last name, first name, project 3, final JPEG. The next one should be the exact same thing, except that it's a PDF. And the last one is the same name, but it's the PSD. Again, these are the three files that you submitted on Canvas. Now for the final project, you should have again four folders. One is Assets, PDFs, PSDs, and the UI template. In the Assets folder, remember, we have three more folders inside, which is JPEGs, PDFs, and PNGs. Nothing should be in these two folders, but in the JPEGs, here's where you're going to have at least 3 or 2 images depending on what project you chose. For this example, I chose to recreate a map layout of a template. So I have this image, this is what I will be recreating. And then you're going to have at least one image or two, maybe more, of the character you chose. In this case, I chose the queen. So you'll see that I have several images of the queen. And this is what I want to be working with when creating my final piece. Going back one step, you don't have anything in the PDFs, but then in the PSDs, you should have something along the lines, and it should be named like this: last name, first name, final project, revision 1. Remember, PSD folder is where you're actually working on your revisions, and it should be named as such. And then when you go into the UI template, you're going to have three more folders: the final JPEG, final PDF, and the final PSD. And inside of each folder, you should have your final file with the correct name, which is last name, first name, final project JPEG, final project PDF, and the final project PSD. I hope this helps. Make sure that you look at this tutorial and go over it and over it until you have all the files and all the folders correct, all the naming convention the same as it's showing here, and make sure that you have everything named correctly and that you only have the images you will be using for your final project, or the images you use for the soldier, and the images you use on project 3 for the surrealism, which should be no more than 2 pictures in your assets folder.